I'm here outside the lovely Kensington Normal Heights Library in San Diego to talk about this book, which I got from the library. Many libraries have Megan Shepherd's books. Wonderful book, Midnight Showing. This is the sequel to Malice House. I reviewed Malice House Halloween time last year. This book finally came out. I've been looking forward to it. The sequel to Malice House. Really, really great, fun little romp. I highly recommend it. So, warning here, there will be spoilers for Malice House. I'm going to try to keep this relatively spoiler-free for Midnight Showing. But if you haven't read Malice House, definitely go check that out. Pick it up, read Malice House. Spoiler alert in effect as of now. Look at this. This is kind of crazy, too. I found these 3D glasses lying here on this bench by the library. That has nothing to do with Midnight Showing. Well, no, it kind of does. You know what? Let's put them on. And I'll explain why. And hopefully they don't give me head lice. Whoa! I'm seeing everything in the third dimension. I was just looking at whatever dimension we live in. So why 3D glasses? Because Midnight Showing is about movies. In this book picks up where a few months after Malice House left off. If you recall, in Malice House, Haven and her sister Kylie, she's just discovered that Kylie is her half-sister. She met Kylie in the first book, working at the bookstore in the Pacific Northwest, where her father's old home was. And at the end of the first book, they discovered about the family curse, and Haven learned that she is not exactly human herself, not Kylie. Kylie is human. Haven herself was a creation of her father. Her father drew her as a baby, drew her, signed his name, he wrote some text on it, and that combination of their family, the Acosta family, is the line that has the curse from Portugal. So her father drew her as a baby and she appeared, because that combination of the of text, written text plus drawings, that's what does it. That's what makes the curse activated. So that's where we left off. So now she and her sister are on the run, so to speak. They're trying to figure out this curse, figure out how to stop it. They know there are monsters that Haven has unleashed on the world from reading her father's stories and drawing illustrations to them. So some of those monsters are out there. Here's one short little kind of spoiler. We don't see as many of the monsters from the first book as I would have liked. Because a lot of monsters were unleashed in that first book. Here, we don't run into many of them. That's all I'm going to say. So, if you were looking forward to a kind of revisiting all of those different fun monsters, the Pinchy creature and the Mothman, I forgot some of their names. They're not all going to be in here. But there's some really fun stuff with Rafe, a.k.a. Now, he's giving me a headache. Let's put on the regular glasses. The reason I wanted to do the 3D glasses, movies. So, they end up in Hollywood. It starts off in Portugal for a short time, but the bulk of the action takes place right here, lovely California, land of palm trees, sunshine, Hollywood, movies. Here's another palm tree. Look at this. This is a beautiful library. So Haven and her sister come out here looking for answers, and they end up meeting up with Rob, who is the mysterious man who was hiring Haven to write synopses about strange off-market horror movies. Man, I would love to have that job. So cool. And so they meet up with Rob. I won't tell you anything about that. It's very fun when we finally do get to meet Rob. He's been this very, very enigmatic character the whole first book. And somehow he has money. He's been paying Haven to write a synopsis of some really weird underground horror movie, and he sends her VHS tapes of these horror movies, and they're always very disturbing. So in this book, she and her sister come to Hollywood and they end up running into Rafe. There's a lot of fun interplay between Haven and Rafe, a lot of that fun sexual tension, a lot of ambiguity about Rafe, about his character. She is not sure how much she can trust him, so we're not sure either as the readers. And that's a very fun little storyline that develops. So the coolest thing about this book that it has in common with Malice House, I'll show you the first one of the chapters. Every chapter here, there's a lot of stories within stories here. You remember in Malice House, every chapter began with a little excerpt from one of her father's stories, one of his collection of horror stories. So here we get the same thing, only here it's a movie script that we see. So, and there are all these movies that are supposed to have been made by Sigil Pictures in the 1940s and 50s. And so we get a little, and it's written just like a movie script with the indentations and the annotations and everything. And every chapter begins with a bit of these horror movies that exist within this fictional universe. And I think there's maybe 5 of them. And it's fun because we kind of you get a full feel of each movie. You can tell that the author, Megan Shepherd, has definitely written a story for each of these movies. So there are basically 5 fictional stories within the story that are slowly revealed to us, and they become more and more significant. So there's a lot of this theme here of this fantasy world from Hollywood, this fantasy world of film overlapping with real life. And without spoiling too much, we get into the same theme as the first book, where we saw that the world that her father created, it kind of suggests that world existed on some plane, and he just tapped into it. A lot of creative minds and philosophers have talked about that, have suggested this idea of, creative people not actually creating anything, but somehow channeling some reality that exists on another plane. And so we get into that more in this book, but in the world of film. So let's put on these dirty Park 3D glasses here. Signing off here with Megan Shepherd's wonderful book, Midnight Showing. Very fun romp, a fun story. If you know California, they do some fun exploring. They go out to Joshua Tree at one point. If you're into old film, if you're into horror film, you will enjoy this. And it's a very fun overlap with the horror, fantasy, kind of dark fantasy genre. But yeah, primarily horror. And I highly recommend it. It does set it up for a sequel at the end, I'll tell you that. So I'm really hoping that sequel is coming out very soon. Megan Shepherd, Midnight Showing, hanging out here on a lovely sunny San Diego day at the Kensington Normal Heights Library. Oh man, these glasses are giving me a headache.